Thank you, William. And clearly we have the right resources, the right people, and the right ambition. This past year, education, business, and community leaders from the southern Willamette Valley came together to explore how to accelerate this region's innovation economy. After studying national examples, including a visit to North Carolina's renowned Research Triangle, the team developed a uniquely Oregon plan to grow our economy and to build vibrant communities and steward our natural environment. Building upon much of what we have heard today, to share this vision for the Southern Willamette Valley Innovation Corridor, please welcome Papé Group CEO Jordan Papé, OSU President Jayathi Murthy, University of Oregon President Karl Scholz, and Eugene Mayor Kaarin Knudson. Thank you.
Thank you, OBC, for inviting us back for a second year. It's exciting to be here, and frankly, it's exciting to be in phase 3, where we're talking about the possible and what we can do in the future. I love our design slide. Here we have the Willamette Valley with our 2 great university towns nestled in, youthful energy, research, excitement emanating through urban and rural communities. We have a possibility, we have a moment, if you're listening to all of these speakers, to shift into a scenario where we can build an exciting place to work and do business. And if you notice, the sun is rising over the Cascades, the lights are on, and the Southern Willamette Valley is open for business. Thank you. Now, we told you that we were going to spend the last year doing research and bringing communities together to talk about how this could work, right? What are the possibilities? What do we need to lean into? We ultimately settled on North Carolina and the Raleigh-Durham Research Triangle, not only because it is the gold standard for innovation districts, but because we share a common history going back 50 years. 50 years ago, these 2 regions were sitting at a below average income. We took 2 different paths. The North Carolinians went door to door, raising funds for the Research Triangle, mostly on the mantra that if they didn't do it, they might see their sons and daughters having to move to the north to get jobs. Meanwhile, in Oregon, we took a slightly different approach. You've already heard about the urban growth boundaries that we put into place, right? So we girdled our growth a little bit. And we also had the Tom McCall mentality, where Tom McCall said, visit, but don't stay. The paths were starkly different. They are now above average in creating prosperity, where the Southern Willamette Valley has continued to slide. Today, I'm going to talk with 3 champions about what we can do to change this trajectory. President of Oregon State University, Jayathi Murthy. Jayathi is a Thank you. Trained engineer who started in the startup space and is now at Oregon State. President Karl Scholz, I get it right this time, an economist serving 2 presidential administrations. Karl came to us from Madison, Wisconsin, where they have an innovation hub. And then from the city of Eugene, Kaarin Knudson, our mayor, my mayor. Kaarin has spent her time originally in journalism, but then shifted over to architecture and urban planning. She sits at the intersection of urban planning and community leadership. So, slide back a little bit. Karl, we'll get into this. You came from Madison, where they had an innovation hub. You're now in the Southern Willamette Valley. Talk to us a little bit about the opportunities you see it.
I think the opportunities are absolutely enormous. And it's not just living in Madison for over 3 decades, seeing the interaction between the university, the business community, and the community at large, political leaders. But you look around the country, many of the great success stories in the United States are collaborations between great universities, great regions, and great political leadership. Route 128 in Boston with Harvard and MIT. The Research Triangle in North Carolina, Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, with 3 great universities, North Carolina State, North Carolina, and Duke. Atlanta with its synergies with Georgia Tech. Austin, Texas with the University of Texas, and of course Silicon Valley with Stanford and Berkeley. You look at Oregon, there are 2 outstanding R1 institutions about 50 miles apart, our friends at Oregon State and at the University of Oregon. The guts are there, and so the opportunity of the Southern Willamette Valley Innovation Corridor is remarkable, and I'm excited to roll up our sleeves and get after it.
Thank you. Kaarin, you ran for office, right? You're now a leader in the southern tip of the Southern Willamette Valley. Talk to us about the opportunity that you see.
An enormous part of that opportunity is to be a part of this team. I would say that stepping into office as the leader of a progressive city and a mayor who cares deeply about how we are growing and changing in ways that are healthy and that extend opportunities into the future, it feels like a powerful moment. People keep saying to me this is sort of a right people, right time, right place kind of a condition. And I can tell you everyone I talk with about what we're working on here is excited about it. We have great partners in our city. We have extraordinary leaders in our universities, and our business community is more than ready to step up in this work.
Amazing. Jayathi, you have been prodding us to keep moving with pace. Talk to us about the importance of speed when addressing economic development.
Well, before I do that, I want to compliment you on a bipartisan tie.
Oh, there.
Yeah. Lots of orange and green, but more orange than green, I think, right? So it's your inner beaver asserting itself, it looks like. But anyway, yeah, so what is the urgency, right? Well, it is really the fierce urgency of now, to use a well-worn phrase. You've heard all morning all the things that are happening in Oregon. Loss of employment, loss of population, so much that is urgent that we really have to address very, very quickly. But on the positive side, this is also an incredibly interesting moment where so much of what's driving the future actually sits in Oregon, right? All the work around biotech, all the work around AI, all the work around robotics, all the work around semiconductors. There's so much that's going right as well that it feels like we've really got to act at this particular moment. Let me also say that the world isn't standing still, all right? So if we don't act, somebody else will. Areas such as AI, areas such as robotics are moving very, very quickly. If we don't jump in, this will just move away from us. And I know the governor recognizes this in her prosperity roadmap. A number of people in this audience know that this needs to happen. And so we've got to make it happen.
Excellent. Karl, your university is famous for a high-speed offense. You're not slowing down. Tell us what you're seeing on the ground in Eugene.
What Jayathi said is critically important. It really is urgent, and we're feeling this urgency. For early on, when we talked about the Southern Willamette Valley Innovation Corridor, it was an attitude. And attitude matters, because we can convene university officials, we can convene elected officials, community leaders, and businesses. But we have to roll up our sleeves and get much more concrete. And so we're trying to develop inventories of spaces that businesses can move in tomorrow. We're working on where can there be 20 to 25 acre plots that not someone can move in and then 3 years later there's utilities and sewage and roads, but they're ready right now. We're trying to think about seemingly mundane issues about parking. Is parking really inhibiting businesses locating in our regions? And frankly, changing attitudes so that a win for Corvallis and Albany is a win for Eugene and Springfield and vice versa.
Excellent. And if we can get those early wins, Jayathi, tell us what it could look like.
Oh, there's just so much that can happen from early wins. First of all, it's bringing all of these diverse communities together, so there's a building of trust. Excitement plays a huge role. I can feel this in the room every time we talk about this entire concept. Networks matter, all right? Connecting business with community, with universities, strengthening those networks, all of that will happen through the efforts that we're talking about. And then, you can see the nuclei forming, right? You all heard from Jonathan Hurst just a few minutes ago. This amazing company, Agility Robotics, working at the forefront of technology, 120 people already there, growing fast. It is these kinds of nuclei that can seed an entire ecosystem. So that's what we're trying to make happen.
Excellent. What would you see as your key areas of focus going forward?
Oh, certainly at U of O, all the investments in the Knight campus and with biohealth and biotechnology, we heard this morning, from Bob Goldberg. So that's certainly a big area of concentration. At OSU, if you haven't heard about the Huang Collaborative Innovation Complex, I have no idea where you've been, or we aren't doing a good enough job speaking about it, because it is such a point of excitement on campus. So all things artificial intelligence is what are going to sit in that building. There's going to be a supercomputer, a superpod that's among the biggest in any university in this country, all of which opens up AI to all things Oregon, all right? AI plus semiconductors, AI plus robotics, AI plus ag, forestry, fisheries, all of that opens up to us, right? So that's a whole big deal. Now, of course, we've been working with U of O. Karl, you and I and the governor were only just recently at the FAST, the site visit. So FAST stands for Frontiers of Advances in Semiconductor Technology. It's a $160 million proposal that we just put in. We were one of 15 finalists out of 300 competitors. We were all there together working to win this one, and I'm very, very hopeful. So there's lots of work going on in the semiconductor ecosystem. And of course, as Oregon State University, as the state's land-grant university, is deeply invested in all things food and beverage, all things agriculture, all things forestry, all things mass timber. And so these are the things that we will bring to the table.
Excellent. Oh, you should probably tell them the architecture of the AI building.
Yeah, well, the Huang Collaborative Innovation Complex is a mass timber building. So
AI meets mass timber.
Yeah, AI meets mass timber.
That's phenomenal. Karl, what are you focused on?
I think at first is talent, right? Universities play an incredibly important role for providing talent for the 21st, 22nd century economies. Our colleagues at Oregon State do a brilliant job of it. I like to think we do a great job at UO. But then there's another set. I mean, Portland State does a wonderful job in the city of Portland, indispensable. And our regional universities, Southern, Eastern, Western universities, University of Oregon, and then Oregon Institute of Technology, and the community colleges. So the whole ecosystem has to work together. Second, we provide incredible value to the state. We all do our economic impact studies, and Oregon State and Oregon are $3.5 billion a year to the economy through our employment, through our technology, innovation, through the people coming to visit our athletic programs. When you combine across all the institutions in Oregon, it's over $10 billion. We are vital for the future of Oregon. And then lastly, we provide core facilities. We've heard about the Knight campus for accelerating scientific impact. We've heard about the Huang Innovation Center. We have a transmission electron microscope. I'm an economist, right? So I don't really know what this is, but it's a microscope that measures at the atomic level. And it's the only one of its kind in the Pacific Northwest. There's only a handful of them in the world. And we have this available to researchers all over the state to do the kinds of innovations that will propel the economy. So talent, contributions, collaboration, and core facilities.
You can feel the leadership from our universities brimming with energy. From the city of Eugene's perspective, Kaarin, what are you leaning into in the city council right now?
Well, I love this framing from our state's institutions leaders and thinking about these one-of-a-kind things, one-of-a-kind innovation that's happening in a one-of-a-kind place. When I think about the context and the home field advantage that we have in this work, thinking about the 21st century, the quality of life that we've nurtured in Oregon, the quality of the people and community here, this is not to be underrepresented as a strength in our work, and it's one of the pieces of the foundation of what we're going to do in these years ahead that I think will be transformative and honestly will make a lot of this work look pretty obvious in hindsight.
Thank you. So channeling all of this energy, we went out to North Carolina, to Raleigh-Durham, to see what it was like to go sort of eyeball to eyeball with the leaders in that area. And a couple of takeaways from my perspective. One, it didn't matter if we were visiting a governmental office or if we were visiting the chamber, they were saying the same exact thing. Not similar things, but they were reading from the same playbook identically. We already heard it once from Karl, and we're adopting the energy of a win for one is a win for all. And they repeat it over and over. It didn't matter if the company landed in Raleigh or the company landed in Durham. A win for one was a win for all. Lot of great energy because they're number one in the country for doing business. So I had to throw them the curveball, right? I had to be that guy. So I'm sitting in the governmental meeting on our last morning there and said, hey, what does it look like if permitting is hung up at an agency like DEQ and you're just not going to get your permit for 12 months to 2 years? And they laughed and looked at me like it was a trick question. Their specific answer back to us was they don't measure the permitting process in months and years, they measure it in days and weeks. And if they were to go 3 weeks hung up on a permitting issue, that issue would be on the governor's desk to resolve. Our universities are moving at a very fast pace. We are going to, as a community and a community of leaders and our elected officials, we are going to have to move very fast to keep up with these great universities. What was your experience while you were out there?
Well, it's exactly what you were saying, that everybody thought of themselves as a part of a larger ecosystem. Everybody was determined to make it all work. But I was particularly struck by the role of universities. Now, Karl, you mentioned the 3 great universities that underpin Research Triangle, UNC, NC State, Duke. What struck me most was these weren't afterthoughts, all right? They were essential partners in the ecosystem. They were essential partners at the time the Research Triangle was actually conceived of, and they've been essential partners right through. So they weren't an afterthought. They weren't it wasn't as if you had an extra seat at the table and you were looking for somebody to sit in the extra chair that you had. That isn't how they were thought about. It was recognized very early on that the universities were going to be the ones that provided talent, and this was high-end talent because they were building out, tech, they were building out biosciences, they were building out textiles, and they needed high-end talent, and they recognized that the universities had to be a part of it. The universities were a part of the research conception. They were the source of new ideas and therefore the source of new spin-offs. And I was particularly struck by how well integrated the big companies and the spin-offs were with the universities. So the big guys were sitting on the university campuses, talking to professors and graduate students every day. People were filtering in and out, so they were really well integrated. And I would love to see that idea take shape in this thing that we're talking about.
Excellent. Karl, what was your experience?
Well, first, I agree with everything that Jayathi and Jordan said, but I was struck by 3 things. Going to North Carolina, it turns out that they've been #1 in the country in 5 of the last 6 years in per capita income growth in the state of North Carolina. They are also #1 in the country in funding public higher education. And I don't think those two things are unrelated. In the state of Oregon, we've heard about business indices where we're 45 or 30 or this, that, and the other. We're number 46 in the country in public support for four-year higher education. I'm very, very grateful for what the state does put into the universities. The return is remarkable. As part of these economic impact studies, for every dollar put into the University of Oregon, we're returning on $15. And similar statistics for the Oregon State and for the other universities. So that's the first thing. Like, the universities are the drivers of the 21st century economy. The second thing, it relates to what Jordan said, is they are all singing from the same hymnal. So when they have standing meetings, monthly meetings with the chambers, with business leaders, with university officials, with political leaders. And if someone misses that meeting, the titular chair of those committees are calling them up to dog them, to say, this is important, you have to be there. And that attitude, I think, is very, very critical. And then Jayathi mentioned the industrial parks or the innovation centers that they have. And Carolina State has this gorgeous, gorgeous Centennial campus, co-locating businesses on the campus. It's to dream for. University of North Carolina has an abandoned airport that they're going to do something similar. So Jayathi and I were in a meeting with Vincent Price, the president of Duke. And after talking about Duke basketball for a while, which is a little insufferable, we asked him, Vincent, do you have an innovation center? And without missing a beat, he said, yeah, downtown Durham. And a light bulb went off in my head because I thought, Mayor Kaarin, right? That can be the innovation center for the University of Oregon, the downtown Springfield, downtown Eugene. Similarly with Jayathi, we can use the assets we have now to build to something great.
Thank you. I will add for emphasis that in creating economic development and opportunity, they do not sacrifice quality of life in North Carolina. If anybody has been to the Raleigh-Durham area, it feels very much like our Willamette Valley. Forests, rivers, trees, a little more humidity in August, but outside of that, right on point. So we have seen a lot today. We've seen AI talked about, we've seen robotics talked about. The future is going to be uncertain. But we know if we lean into these opportunities, we will have an answer. As Helen Keller once said, a bend in the road is not the end of the road unless you fail to make the turn. Here to show us what it might look like just around the corner, Mayor Kaarin Knudson, urban planner, architect, mayor.
Almost good afternoon, everyone. It's truly a pleasure to be here with you all today. And as we wrap up the morning session, I want to give us an opportunity to reflect a little bit on growth and change, and also about what we do best. Because I've heard a lot about North Carolina. I love North Carolina. We've got family in North Carolina. We're better than North Carolina. Thank you. You know that as well, which is part of our strength. As Eugene's mayor, I get to see our valley's entrepreneurial spirit threaded through nearly everything that we do, from advanced manufacturing and wood products to biotech to sport and food and beverage and education and our nonprofit sectors. There is a reason why the new mayor of New York City gives Eugene a shout out when talking about the future of what they plan in their community. There's a reason that people all across the country know what it means to throw the O and have an association that is so positive with our identity and with this place. We are incredibly proud in the Southern Willamette Valley to be the place where Nike began, and to be a community full of people who have questioned the status quo and are always interested in finding new ways to do things, better ways to do things. And historically, there are two conditions present. One is that there's a particularly curious researcher or entrepreneurial group that's associated with the university and that spins out an idea into local industry. You can think about Phil and Bill in that case, with a waffle iron in Tracktown, USA. You can think about Orrin Stafford inventing the charcoal briquette from his lab in the context of a thriving and robust wood products industry. The other condition is that our infrastructure recruits for us. And this example is evidence that I've been looking for as a person who observes cities, who's looking to interpret what we see, is looking for the design problem to solve, is thinking about how we might positively intervene. And as I spend time with our businesses, there's something else that I've noticed. Our infrastructure and our culture does recruit for us. It recruits for us all the time, every day. It's part of why we're able to tell such a strong story about this place, even as we're dealing with economic indicators that give us all quite a sense of pause and, I hope, motivation for the work that we have ahead. I'll just share with you that last week I was with one of our local manufacturers, and they were telling me specific stories about how the previous generation's investments in bicycle infrastructure in our community were why they had decided that this was the place, and that they had created 2 internationally known bicycle companies within our city. 50 years ago, they were asking questions about where their ideas could flourish, what culture would support them, how a community would rally around and support their success. Those questions are important because we know that all communities grow in the direction of the questions that they ask. And sometimes we say we're asking one question, but the one we're really asking is a little bit different. And this is true of people too. Looking at it another way, you might wonder if your question was, how can I not age? The answer, and there's only really one answer to that question, will look very different from a question like, how can I experience health and vitality in every chapter of this incredible life? Individually and collectively, we've asked a lot of questions about growth and change in Oregon, sometimes with frustration, sometimes with trepidation. Sometimes those feelings were well-founded, sometimes they were absolutely hyperbolic. But we've not asked enough questions about the opportunity to change for the better, or about how our values can be stronger and clearer as we grow. So I'm an architect, and I write and I teach about urban design. I was recruited from the Bay Area, as was our president from OSU, and I have rebuffed many, many efforts to pull me away from our incredible community. I find the places and the cities and the people that I get to study to be fascinating. I find the ones that I get to live with to be loved. Urbanism is fundamentally about dynamic relationships among many interdependent elements in a city, the system of systems, sometimes described, and it's accrued over intentions that are years, decades, generations long. Great urbanism happens in increments, but it's not parcel specific. It's place development, and it is the expression of strong values and legible culture. With the Southern Willamette Valley Innovation Corridor, I see so many incredible opportunities, powerful opportunities for us to simultaneously advance our economic development and environmental goals, to recruit underutilized and retrofit underutilized urban spaces with concentrations of positive energy, to recruit and open new pathways for businesses, and to deliver on a multitude of the dreams that our community holds for itself and for its future. So many so that, as I mentioned a moment ago, I think in hindsight this endeavor will seem obvious. I mentioned earlier today, I can't believe that we are so fortunate to be the people who get to do this work. I can't believe it hasn't already been done. It's also the opportunity that we have to seize, because you've heard all day today that we are facing headwinds, we are facing real challenges, we cannot rest on our laurels, we haven't done the work to strengthen our strengths. And despite all of the incredible things that I've shared, as you know, our region is now lagging in educational attainment, in median income, and in population growth. We are older, and as Karl mentioned, we dedicate much less funding to higher education and research than our peers. We could double the $3.23 per capita that we currently spend, and we still would not be where North Carolina is currently spending. I'm generally speaking a very internally motivated person, but we have to compete when this information is presented to us. Because when we look at our Up Valley cities, we see picturesque university campuses in close proximity to downtown cores, with great access to nearby neighborhoods that are walkable, that deliver incredible quality of life, and with recreation opportunities abounding. That's all within the larger milieu of Oregon's incredible agricultural and forested resources. This is who we are. This is our context for a bright future. This is how we recruit and retain, by seeing these strengths in ourselves and continuing to strengthen them. So in my work, I'm always thinking about people and how they live their lives, where they live, the jobs that they can reach, the transportation options they have, the schools their children can go to, the parks they get to enjoy, the the communities where they feel belonging. I think we need to always be thinking about how we can help to get people access to what they need, everyone in our communities, and to how we can create and orchestrate new opportunities. We have this incredible opportunity within our place to strengthen the connections among all of these pre-existing conditions with this effort. And when we do that well, our whole region will be more coherent, more accessible, and more vibrant. And that's true for our entire state. Because when you mix groundbreaking research with walkable urban amenities and a high quality of life, it's easy to see a future where innovation hubs or sub-campuses and downtowns and the university campuses proper, all in close proximity to existing venues and restaurants and housing and infrastructure, can network their capacity to grow and support new businesses and jobs with opportunities for local and regional expansion. Growing companies in this incredible place will require more spaces and for us to invest in our cities. In Southern Willamette Valley, we are already exploring how 1,000 acres of industrial property could support our region into the future. Eugene has a start in this work with 650 acres within our UGB at Clear Lake Road, right near Eugene Airport. And the state's support of the infrastructure that's associated with this land is key. 1,000 acres could unlock 15,000 high-paying jobs, fuel the construction of thousands of housing units, and contribute to economic infrastructure that drives future generations of opportunity. The interdependence among these elements is incredibly powerful because together they focus and they share concentrations of positive energy per capita and per acre. We can measure it in all sorts of ways and we feel it everywhere that we go. When Dr. Drucker from OHSU was talking earlier today about where good ideas come from, he was describing moments of inspiration with other people in great places. Economic innovation with urbanism in Oregon, it looks idyllic because it is, but it is also strategic and responsive. Because we get to keep the incredible talent and innovation that we cultivate in Eugene and Corvallis if we are able to expand our business and entrepreneurial ecosystem and strengthen these experiential assets. We'll do that by knitting together the incredible quality of life that already exists within our community, by connecting recreational experiences that define the Southern Willamette Valley with the places where people live and work and learn and file patents every day. Livability is not an amenity in this future, it is absolutely our infrastructure. Oregon does this better than anyone. This is already our core strength, and it has to be our competitive advantage looking into the future. We'll get to experience this innovation as a bridge between the old and the new, but also in physical spaces, connecting people and ideas and offering new kinds of cross-sector vitality within our city centers. With existing and new partnerships in our downtown and riverfront districts, I can tell you that this opportunity is ready now, and we are excited to keep working on it because Oregon needs its cities and its communities to lead this work in livability and economic development, and they have to be together. And the future needs us to be stronger as a state and more unified and reading and singing loudly from the same hymnal. What we're doing in the Southern Willamette Valley can be a model for how Oregon delivers on the best of life in the 21st century. Cutting-edge research, thriving businesses, rewarding work, great public education, engaged communities, incredible recreation, quality housing, richness, diversity, and intentional growth. And we can go stronger and richer in every opportunity that we build for the people so lucky to live here while being true to our values. And we absolutely have to do this work at a pace that is relevant in the 21st century. We have to accelerate our work. I'm very proud to say that this is already underway. It's a true privilege to be working with these partners. We are not slowing down, we are not stopping, but we're building. We're building new partnerships, we're building new relationships, and we absolutely want for you to join us. So if any of what we're talking about today in this conversation, but also others, sounds like the future that you imagine for Oregon, then we would love to talk to you about that work and how you can be a part of this. And we will look forward to everything that we're going to accomplish in the years ahead. Thank you.
The energy is palpable. Thank you, President Murthy, President Scholz, Mayor Knudson. Renee James, if you're still in the room looking for a place to start your business, don't hesitate to look south. Thank you.
And what an inspirational note to finish this morning on. Please head out to lunch, bring your lunch back into the room, and we are going to start at 12:30. So super fast. You will enjoy the lunch. It's from the Oregon Bounty. Please come right back in. We'll start at 12:30. Thank you.